Hello all, welcome to our YouTube channel Techie Water. Here we are going to discuss about what is an operating system, its uses and comparison. An operating system is a software that acts as an interface between computer hardware components and the user. So very first question is, why do we need any interface to communicate with computer, right? Because computer understands binary or machine language, that is zeros and ones, and it is not possible for humans to communicate in zeros or ones. Hence the presence of interface is required. As you can see in below example, something is written in binary language, but human can't understand directly. Human will take time to convert this binary language into some human readable forms, then only human can understand, right? So for every computer system, it should have at least one operating system to run other programs and applications like browser, MS Office, Notepad, games, etc. Because these applications need some environment to run and perform its task, right? So it is not possible for users to use any computer or mobile device without having an operating system. Now let's understand how operating system works. So suppose there is a user and user requests something to machine and that machine don't have operating system. So let's see what will happen. User sends some request to hardware and hardware is confused. Hardware says, I can't understand, what are you saying? So hardware will not be able to send any response to user. In second scenario, when we use operating system, then what will happen? User requests something to machine, that message goes to operating system. Operating system understand that message and send it to hardware, because operating system send message to hardware in hardware language or machine language. Now hardware will be able to get that message. So machine will understand the request and send response back to operating system. Further, operating system will provide response to user. So in this way, user can communicate with the machine with the help of operating system, right? Now there are various operating systems available in market, but these are some popular ones. Suppose you can say, if you will break up the different types of computing devices into categories, then the most popular operating system for each category will be these six. Now operating system uses. First one is Microsoft Windows. This is most popular operating system for desktop and laptop computers due to good graphical user interface, because Microsoft Windows has very good graphical user interface. Second is Apple Mac OS. It delivers fast processing speed and have very simple desktop interface, including with wide variety of helpful resources. So that's why it is very popular. So Mac OS security is very good due to lack of bugs, and it is very hard to hack. So Apple Mac OS is very popular in market, but it is bit costly than Windows. Now we have to understand that Mac OS and Windows are both example of proprietary operating system. What does it mean? It means they are designed and sold by the companies and are not meant to be tampered with or tweaked by users, right? User cannot change anything with these two softwares, that is Mac OS and Windows. You have to use whatever company will provide you. You cannot change or you cannot modify, right? Now the third one is Google's Android OS. This is the most popular smartphone and tablets operating system. Fourth one is Apple iOS. iOS is most popular tablet operating system which is exclusively used for iPhones. And then Unix and Linux. We will understand these two operating system in detail. I mean, there is always some confusion between Unix and Linux. So let's understand what is Unix and Linux. So first one is Unix. Before Linux and Windows, computer world was dominated by Unix. Unix is a copyrighted name, and some examples are like IBM AIX, HP UX, and Sun Solaris are only a Unix operating system remain till date. Now the thing is, and the confusion, always there is a confusion is, some people think Unix and Linux as synonym, but that's not true. Many operating systems were developed to be like Unix, but none of them got the popularity as Linux. Linux is the clone of Unix, not synonym. Linux get derived from Unix, right? It has several features similar to Unix, but still have some key differences. Now Linux. Linux is different from Windows and Apple, and very interesting thing is anyone can modify and distribute it. Linux is open source. Okay. Variants of Linux are most widely used in Internet of Things and smart devices. Some variants of Linux are most popular operating system on web servers and supercomputers. Now this is the very basic difference between Linux and Unix. So first let's have a look about Linux. Linux is an open source operating system which is freely available to use in market. Okay, it's open source operating system. While Unix can only be used by copywriters. Some example of Linux are Ubuntu, Red Hat, Fedora, Kali Linux, CentOS, etc. There are various flavors of Linux. It is approximately more than 500. Okay, while in Unix, IBM AIX, HP UX, and Sun Solaris, etc. are the example of Unix. In terms of Linux, anyone can use whether it's a student, developer, or home user. Anyone can use Linux. But in terms of Unix, it was mainly developed for servers and workstations. When we talk about bugs and fixes, as I already told you, Linux is an open source. So whenever any threat get detected all over the world, developers get started to fix that bug, right? Hence, it is faster to provide solution. While with Unix, because it is not open source, so users have to wait for some time to problem get resolved. Now the big question is, as I already told, there are numbers of Linux versions. There are numbers of Linux distributions. Okay, so when to choose which Linux version? Some popular Linux flavors are Ubuntu, Linux Mint, Debian, Red Hat, Fedora, CentOS, OpenSUSE, Arch Linux. First one is Ubuntu. It works like macOS and it is easy to use. I mean, beginners can go with Ubuntu and it will give you feel like macOS. Second one is Linux Mint. It works like Windows and suitable to use for newcomers. Third is Debian. It provides stability but not recommended for new users. Next is Red Hat Enterprise. It is to be used commercially and it is difficult to use for beginners. Okay, so if you are new to Linux, then don't go with Red Hat. Go with either Ubuntu or Linux Mint. Next is Fedora. If you want to use Red Hat but with the latest software, then go with Fedora. Next is CentOS. If you want to use Red Hat without trademark, then go with CentOS. It is totally free. Basically, CentOS was developed just to promote the development of Red Hat. Now OpenSUSE, it works same as Fedora but slightly old and more stable. Now Arch Linux, it is not for beginners because every package has to be installed by yourself. So whenever you are going to pick Linux, just keep these points in mind. Now how to get Linux in use? You can get Linux or Windows either on your machine or on cloud platform. So first option is if you want to get Linux on your own system, then first available method is go with dual boot configuration. What does it mean? You can keep Linux and Windows both on your operating system, and the only difference is Linux will sit on your hard drive along with Windows, and every time you have to choose which operating system you want to run. Second option is create a bootable Linux USB and install fresh Linux on your system. For that, you will need Linux ISO file, Rufus software which is absolutely free, and an USB drive of at least 4 GB. Third option is virtualization software. In market, there are various virtualization software available. Some popular one are VMware and VirtualBox. So with the help of virtualization software also, you can launch a new machine within your operating system. Okay. Now second method is you can get Linux on cloud as well. So there are various platforms available. Among all, most popular are Azure, AWS, GCP. So in these cloud platforms, you just need to register and you can launch a virtual machine with required operating system. In this way, you can get Linux over cloud as well. So thank you guys. In next video, we will check how to create an account on AWS and how to launch a virtual machine.